Do you ever feel the almost like that dichotomy of like being productive personally versus being productive business wise? Do you ever feel that pull that like is an hour where I could be like growing my team or this kind of stuff? Does that ever hit you and make it, man, like that hour appointment is coming up for my workout, but man, should I be doing that or should I be focusing on this thing I'm working on?
Every single day. If anything, I guess that's my biggest pitfall is the mindset of it. Is like I know the benefit of it. I know when I do this, I'm better in business. I actually probably get more done anyways. But the aspect of like the everyday, I'm not like, even though this is fun, I'm excited about this goal. I'm not like really ever like rah rah. Yeah, I can't wait to get to my workout. It's always I got to get it in. I really need to hit this deadline and this thing. And so that mental battle of like I should be doing these other things is definitely strong and definitely there.
Welcome back to another episode of Brotherhood Beyond Business. Today we're going to tackle fitness, specifically from an entrepreneur perspective of how do we get this into our life all the time and how hard it is to get it into our life consistently, but it is a big part of what we need to do. With all of us previously being gym owners, I know Danny and Joe still are currently gym owners. You would think it'd be really, really easy because we have gyms around us all the time. I have a huge garage gym. Like I have it probably 15 steps from where I'm sitting right now. And it's still not always the easiest thing to do, but it is a priority in our life. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that today. We're going to start off with what each person's personal fitness goal is right now. So that way, when they have a conversation about how they get in versus not get in, it can make sense how hard it is. Because you could just say, hey, I just want to like get a 30-minute walk in for today. And that's going to be a lot simpler than I want to gain some muscle. I want to lose some weight because there's other aspects that have to go into that. So Joe, go ahead and kick it off with what your current fitness goals are.
Yeah, so my current fitness goals are probably a little bit different than I would say they normally are right now because as I've turned 40, the biggest thing for me that's been driving me to be consistent in my fitness, like you're talking about, has been signing up for various like endurance-based competitions. So I really enjoy doing DECA by Spartan, and then I've started doing the High Rocks competitions. So they keep me training consistently just because it gives me another reason to train. So my goals right now are really just to improve my times on those High Rocks races and to qualify for Worlds for DECA. So it's a little bit different than it would normally be. But what I've found is when I'm training for something, it just gives me that little extra like carrot dangling out in front to make sure I'm consistent with just that little extra reason. Like I've invested a little bit more money into it. And so I get that stuff in, I get that training in consistently because I want to do better at those competitions. I mean, that's really where my head's at right now. I would say if I wasn't doing those competitions, then everything would just be focused on if somebody ever attacks my family, I need to be able to pick them up and physically throw them. So I have specific numbers I want to hit on all my lifts for at least 225.
Okay, cool. Danny, what is your current goals?
Yeah, so mine's also new and something I've never done before. Well, not in a long time. So I mean, I've been training hard for almost 20 years now. And it started early. Like I would train for basketball, right? Playing college basketball, like that was my sole focus. And then it transited. I was done with basketball, and I was like, where do I want to go now? My body's in decent shape. Well, first, I guess it was like get my body in good shape. Like I was a little overweight, stuff like that, and then transition more performance. And then it was more really the last probably 14 years or so. It's just been more like health, longevity, like performance in terms of life, right? So maybe not necessarily being able to pick people up and throw them, right? But that's also a thing for me too. But for really the last 14 years, it's just been like, how can I get the most out of like my work, my family, and how does my fitness help with that? More as like an aid, more than like an actual like specific goal of I want to lose 20 pounds or whatever it is. But I've kind of transitioned a little bit lately, and I did do a couple fitness competitions the last couple years where it was body composition focused, and it was more about it getting as lean as possible, and I did really well. I actually won both of those competitions, and that like sparked a little like edge, a little fun. It kind of made fitness fun for me again, kind of gamified it. So I haven't had like a vanity fitness goal in a while. Like my body's in good shape. I'm lean. I'm strong. Like I don't have any like big weakness areas that I need to tackle. So now it's just more like, let me optimize what I have. It's kind of really helping me make it more fun again instead of just like, I'm just doing it to do it or stay healthy. And so my goal right now is I want to be 10% body fat. So like I'm about there now, but I want to gain about 6 pounds of muscle. So I want to have 100 pounds of muscle on my body while maintaining 10% or less body fat there. So it's like I can have 100 pounds of muscle, I can be a little bit more shredded, and I still have abs, like visible abs. So like it's strictly vanity, which I've never done in a long time. And it's been a long time since I've actually tried to build muscle either. So it's kind of fun. So it's a little bit different for me, a little challenging. It definitely takes a lot more work or focus than typical just like health longevity kind of that I have been doing for years. So being an entrepreneur, being busy, being a father, being a husband, like you got to really try to balance that and fit it in. So that's kind of been my goal and focus right now.
Awesome. So we have a performance goal for Joe. Andy's is more like an aesthetic goal, a little bit muscle gain, and then mine is going to be like a strictly fat loss gain. When I moved to Arizona, put on a lot of weight, sitting behind a desk and not moving near as much as I used to, and didn't course correct the calories by any means. And so that's been my journey over the last couple of years. I've been trying to focus on nothing extreme diet wise and bringing weight down from there. So I lost 35 pounds in the last year. I have, in my opinion, another 50 pounds to go over the next year and a half, maybe 2 years. My goal is to just like put in the right habits to do that. But my goal is to lose 50 more pounds, specifically through following macros. I have a nutrition coach as well. Training wise, hypertrophy based training, but strictly just because that gets more calorie burn. And then cardio has been my weakness, meaning like I don't love it. So I do 2 to 3 rucks a day, but it's still pretty time consuming, but it's also super not fun. I mean, rucks aren't hard. So there's nothing hard about rucking. The negative is I get bored really easy because I'm like, oh, I could be doing other stuff. So recently I've been implementing like 30-minute practice time, which means that I either go to the court and shoot for 30 minutes, or I built a pickleball wall in my backyard. And so I do practice drills during that time for pickleball, because that's a big passion of mine right now, is to improve my pickleball game, or serves, just things that keep me moving for 30 minutes. And then also I play a game of chase with my dog. My dog loves a game of chase, and that's like 30 minutes of agility drills is what that pretty much is. 30 minutes of chasing around for agility drills. So different ways to get there, but so that's kind of our goals. We have we have 3 different goals, which gives us different things to talk about, because we have performance, we have aesthetic, and then we have, I mean, mine would technically be aesthetic, but it's really just body recomp, I guess, would really what it'd be, kind of goals. So when we go through those, so let's go ahead next and talk about how we are going about those, and a little bit of the struggles we're going through trying to accomplish the way we're going about them. Instead of going exactly in order again, Danny, let's go ahead and go back to yours. Give us kind of how you're going about attacking that goal and the struggles that you're running into.
Yeah, so how I'm attacking it is I'm shifting my approach a little bit, where my approach has been for a while more total body, get in 3 or 4 good quality workouts, try to get steps in, and just stay lean, stay strong, more like let's just keep maintenance. So I'm shifting my workout program a lot, because my goal right now is to hit every main muscle group at least 20 sets throughout the week. So however that's spaced out, I've switched a little bit where I'm doing, more a full push workout, then I'm doing a full pull workout, and then I'm doing more just like straight legs. And I'm doing each of those twice a week. So I'm hitting weights 6 days a week, which I haven't done in a long time. It isn't always necessary, but with where I'm at and what I need to do in the volume I'm going to have that kind of hypertrophy of growing muscle, I feel it's just going to be the most impactful for me there. So that's when it comes to the training, that's the core concept of it. So like, and when I say that, just to kind of break it down, is, I'm hitting my chest like about 20 sets throughout the week, right? So I'm getting enough volume to get stimulation and growth. And same thing for all the other muscles, right? Shoulders, back, lats, lower body, and just kind of breaking it up however I see fit, do different phases. I won't get too deep in the weeds, but that's kind of how I'm doing it. And then
For timing wise on that, can I ask you a question on that? Are those true like hypertrophy reps where you're taking like, let's say 12 reps and then you're taking like a 2-minute break, or are you supersetting that with another muscle group?
So I'm right now lately, like the last few weeks, it's been more straight sets for the core lifts. So for instance, like the other day I did chest press. I did 4 sets of 8, and I was pretty capped out at 8, pretty maxed out, pretty much still failure, maybe 1 in the tank lap. And my tempos are very slow, right? So I had a 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down. So I'm getting enough time under tension to be able to elicit growth. So, that set of 8 took me 45-ish seconds just to complete the one. I would rest for about 30 to 60 seconds, because I feel that's optimal for hypertrophy. You don't want too long of a break. You don't want too short, then you can't keep pushing the weight. And then I would do like I did I did a shoulder press after, same concept, 4 sets of 8. However, I did like almost like a drop set. So I do the 4 sets of 8, and then I drop the weight by 25-ish%, probably a little more than that, probably 30-40%. And then I would do 2 sets till about 15 to 20. So about failure almost, with a lighter weight after I did the 4 sets of 8. And then I'd go into the next thing. So I did 4 sets of 8 shoulder press, then the 2 kind of drop sets ish, not back to back. So they're not technically drop sets, but and I did 2 sets of like 20 with a lighter weight for the overhead press. And then I generally did 2 to 3 supersets after that with more accessory work. So I might do like some lateral raises and chest flies together. And I would
How long would
slightly
you
higher
say?
reps.
How long would you say like a hypertrophy workout for you lasts?
About an hour. It depends. Sometimes I'm at the gym, I'm like kind of working a little bit, so I might rest a little bit longer than I'd like, but yeah, usually 45 minutes to an hour.
And so you're focusing muscle part specific. So it's truly a hypertrophy based program. Maybe that doesn't know what hypertrophy means. It just means muscle building, right? We're trying to truly gain muscle mass is the goal on that. So I just kind of want to go into the time frame there because that's most people instantly just think sets and they don't realize how long that
Yep,
lasts.
for
So
sure.
an hour kind of focus on that. Are you pairing that besides that? Are you pairing that with any version of cardio?
Yeah, so I'm actually not. So what I'm doing though is I'm trying to get as many steps in throughout the day because I don't want to burn an excessive amount of calories because I need the calories to build the muscle. So I'm trying to walk a fine line of I'm not actually doing some excess cardio. I think one day a week I might add some cardio in. Every day I'm trying to get 10 to 15,000 steps. So it's more low intensity, gives my body time to recover, helps with recovery, but I'm not blasting a ton of calories by doing a bunch of cardio. So we'll see. Like once I get close to that goal, I'll probably have to manipulate it a little bit where I might have to ramp up the cardio a little bit to keep the body fat low. But then a lot of it's actually coming from nutrition, right? Like I'm trying to get like 250 almost grams of protein a day, keeping like being in a surplus, but not too much because again, part of my goal is I'm not doing the bulk and cut phase like a typical bodybuilder would, but I'm trying to like kind of do both at the same time or just keep as lean as possible. So it's probably going to take me longer, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things out there. People have proven that the bulking isn't nearly as important as it is. There's like what we call a lean bulk, where the idea is I have excess calories, but they're not dirty calories, and I think that's probably the smarter strategy, unless you're looking to hit it in a fast period of time. So I think that's a good plan. So, what are your pitfalls? What are the things that like you felt like? Are you super consistent? Like I hit this all the time, or what kind of runs into the obstacles that make this a hard plan to follow?
Yeah, so I definitely am being consistent, but that is the hardest part is the time commitment, right? Like I'm not used to doing hour-long dedicated workouts 6 times a week, and I got a family and kids, right? So it means I'm gonna have to work out at least one time during the weekend, which not that I didn't do that before, but it takes away from family time and stuff like that. So as an entrepreneur, I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Like, how do I fit my fitness into my lifestyle when I have to run all these different things and scenarios in my life? So that's definitely been the hardest part. I think the biggest thing that for me is just I plug it in like it's an appointment through the day. I time block my week so I have like dedicated times to do different things. And then I'm trying to like put my workouts in there first and then I have to work around there. Right. So that's kind of my approach and what's helped me. But when it comes to actually my pitfalls, I wouldn't say I have any true pitfalls yet, except I don't know. I've just started this a few weeks ago. So I got to make sure I'm even getting progress. What I'm doing might not even be working yet. So I feel like it will, but my biggest pitfall is like, how do I get 6 hour long workouts in a week and still get everything else done that I need to do or focus on my family or faith or whatever it is. And that's been the hardest thing to do, but I've personally done well at that. I think it helps because I'm coming from a fitness background that I understand the importance of it. Because here's the thing, like if I do this and I do this well and I'm focusing on this, it helps translate into all areas of my life. I'm a better husband, I'm a better father, I'm better at business, I'm more mental clear. So I see the value and how that's going to help me with all these other different things. So outside of that, I don't have any pitfalls. It's just more these are the time constraint is a little bit of the issue that I'm trying to make sure that doesn't become an issue.
Do you ever feel the almost like the dichotomy of like being productive personally versus being productive business wise? Do you ever feel that pull that like is an hour where I could be like growing my team or this kind of stuff? Does that ever hit you and make it, man, like that hour appointment is coming up for my workout, but man, should I be doing that or should I be focusing on this thing I'm working on?
Every single day. If anything, I guess that's my biggest pitfall is the mindset of it is like, I know the benefit of it. I know when I do this, I'm better in business. I actually probably get more done anyways. But the aspect of like the everyday, I'm not like, even though I'm fun, this is fun, I'm excited about this goal. I'm not like really ever like rah rah, yeah, I can't wait to get to my workout. It's always, "Oh, I got to get it in. Oh, I really need to hit this deadline and this thing." And so that mental battle of like, I should be doing these other things is definitely strong and definitely there. However, I'm also aware enough that I understand if I do take this dedicated hour and do this, it's only going to help the business, right? And that at least helps me. And I think that's, if people can have that mindset, that have a similar thought process, because I'm sure you guys have that. I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs listening have that. So I think if you can have that understanding that, for one, you're going to be more mentally clear, less anxious, you're going to make better decisions, you're going to have more energy, right? All these different things are going to help you drive the business further. But also, like, and I always forget this, what's that law, kind of like the profit first, like the toothpaste, right? Like, if you have a bunch of time, you're going to use it all up, right? But if you condense that time, you're still going to get the same amount of stuff done just because you have less time to do it. I forget what that analogy is called, but it's the whole like what profit first model from Mike Michalowicz is built off of, just human psychology. I think if anything, that's helping me, because now instead of a 13-hour day, I only have a 12-hour day, right? So I got to get the same amount of stuff done in 12 hours. So I end up being more productive anyways, because I have a smaller deadline.
Yeah, I definitely get that. The idea is like, if I put a project in my list for 3 hours, and it takes me 3 hours to do that thing, but if I put that project in my list for an hour and 45 minutes, I'm going to get that thing done in an hour and 45 minutes. Most likely is we give ourselves a little bit more, we get distracted during that time frame too. So cool. So that's a great, I think you hit on some great points there. Joe, let's go ahead and bounce off yours too, because your goals are performance based, which take in different aspects of it. And I've always just kind of kicked your part off, Joe, as I've always respected how much you put effort into your fitness while still growing your business. And it's challenged me to be better at how I do it, because I'm always like, man, Joe got like, I see you on the weekends getting a run in and this kind of stuff. I'm like, and I have like done some yard work today and that's it. So like, I need to like step up my game. So I definitely really respect how much you've kept that into your lifestyle. But I know it's not easy because you do have kids and stuff. So go ahead and go through like how you do your training as well as the pitfalls that you run into.
Yeah, man. I mean, the pitfall is I don't get nearly as much done in my business because of it. Like, especially with the time of the day that I choose to work out, because I generally choose to work out when my energy is going to be at its highest outside of early in the morning. My sessions now, so my main focus with training is performing better at these races. And I've learned that a big difference between me and the folks at these races that do better than me is when you get later into these races and you're more fatigued and things are starting to get more challenging, they're able to maintain a faster running pace than I am. And I don't know that that's necessarily, some of it's physical and physiological, but some of it's also mental. So for me, a lot of my training, when it comes to these races, a lot of my training is focused on replicating the mental state and fatigue state that I have during these races, so that I can learn what it feels like and learn when do I actually need to slow down because I won't make it through to this next thing, or can I push really hard, come into this next thing really fatigued and still get it done and then just take off, because it's like station run, station run, station. That's how most of these things are. So that's where most of my training goes, and it's a little less sciencey, and it's more about building, kind of like Danny talked about with like surrounding the work side of it and the fitness side of it, is building that mindset. So I know when I can push harder and when I need to pull back, because I replicated that in my training, because that was always a big one for me before doing competitions in the past and feeling like, hey, I need to keep something in the tank so that I can get through this. And I had to learn that, like, oh no, you're about to, you're wheezing, right? I'm like, you've learned that you can continue working hard even when your breathing is starting to get really, really tough, because I've felt it before. I know I got through it, and then I function fine the rest of the day. So that's what I try to replicate in my training, that, and then the amount of time that's required for those events. So like high rock stuff is going to be anywhere for me, like hopefully one day less than an hour, but it's not there yet, anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. So I have to make sure my workouts are an hour and a half to 2 hours long. And that has really taken up a lot of my time, like work time. But it's helped me mentally, and it's helped me physically, obviously, prepare for these competitions. So that's where I'm at right now with my workouts, is just longer duration workouts, because that's what helps me learn, like mentally, when I can push through at like 30, 40, 50 minutes into some kind of event.
What time of day do you usually do these workouts?
So it's usually about 10 a.m. I will start, and it's going to be cardio. It depends on the day of the week. So I still like to work out. I like to plan the least amount of my workouts as possible personally. So either I'm going to hire a coach to write my programming and or do the group training sessions for strength work that we have here at my business, because then I don't have to think about it. And I know I'm going to get a good enough stimulus to at least maintain strength, because I don't want to neglect my strength training, even though these events are very, fairly endurance heavy. So I like to get in on our group training session at 11:30 a.m. So that means that my training needs to start between 10 and 10:30 so that I can get into that hour and a half to 2 hour block. So I'll start with, like, maybe I'll be going for a run and I'll be doing some 1,000 meter, like 10K pace, not sprints, but they're close to a sprint, and then a jog recovery, 1,000 meter jog recovery. And then I'll come in and get into that 11:30 session, like just after the warm up, and start doing my strength training. So usually between like 10 and 12:30 right now. When I stop coaching at 5 a.m. in the morning, 100%, as I'm hiring this new coach, that'll probably lead to me getting up early. And it's a good chance I'll get up and do it first thing in the morning. But honestly, like, everybody has their own morning routine. Like, that's a pitfall for me, is I feel like if I could work out in the morning, I can get it done, and then I can just focus on work and family the rest of the day. But my brain is at its absolute sharpest in the morning. So this is always something I'm kind of battling. But, Alex Hormozy always says, if you want to get more done, like, you just got to get to work. Don't get up and go get to do all these different morning routine things. He said he likes to just get up and get to work. I have found that I am much more productive with work if it's the first thing I can do in the day. So that's why my workout has tended to be pushed to like 10 a.m. to like 12:30. Because if I can wake up, make coffee, and just get in front of my laptop, then that all of that type of work, I can get that almost all the way done for the day in the first few hours, like 2 to 3 hours of the day. And then it gives me room to kind of like move things around throughout the rest of the day.
So how about right now? I know you have some anxiety about things like this. Like, how do you feel when you're doing like a 2 hour workout? How do you feel with that, taking that time away from work?
I think while I'm doing it, I'm okay with it. It's when I'm done with it and I'm fatigued and it's taking me a while to like eat food and get back to work. That's where that comes in for sure. While I'm doing it, I'm like, I gotta, I'm happy that I'm doing this. I'm really happy that I'm doing this, because this is helping me relieve stress. It's very hard for me to be anxious while I'm actually working out, because a lot of these workouts I'm pushing hard. Like yesterday, I spent 30 minutes doing nothing but sled pushing and heels elevated back squats, because I'm just trying to focus on lower body fatigue, and then coming into the sled push event that's at these high rocks, and training heavier than what the weight is at the high rocks. And then, of course, the longer duration fatigue. So I can't really feel anxiety during that, because I'm I'm so I'm so tired. I'm breathing so hard. Like, you
You're
don't
in
have
fight
time
and
to
flight
think.
mode, and right now your body's
Yeah,
just fighting.
yeah. You're learning how to survive like through this stuff, and trying to do it at a high level so you can beat other people at it. That's what I'm trying to do, and it's very hard to push myself like that when I'm alone. So it requires a lot of focus. But when I'm done, I have to eat. I've increased my carb intake. Protein intake's always been pretty high, but I've increased my carb intake, and then I've got to, like, I'm usually exhausted. Like, you guys know me. You've been in meetings with me. I get very sleepy at certain times of the day. If I'm like about to fall asleep and I go sit down at a laptop, the work is going to take 10 times as long. So for me, it's usually like eat my lunch, take like a 10 to 20 minute nap, and then I can get back to work. So I lose a lot of time doing that stuff. And that's where my anxiety comes from, is like, how long do I continue to focus on working while I have high energy levels throughout the day? Like, I know my patterns. And at what point do I just say, like, quit being soft and just try to push through those tired times of the day like I used to do, and try to get work done during those, rather than take that quick nap? Like, that's for me. It's like, am I losing this much progress by taking that quick nap, working out that long, all that stuff, and how long it takes me to get back to doing work? Or am I doing the right thing? And would I not be growing faster if I was spending less time with that stuff?
Danny, I don't know if I heard you say this. What time do you usually work out?
I would love to work out in the morning as well. But mine is, my kids get up so early, so it's hard for me to sometimes work out in the morning, because I try to help my wife out, because she does a lot at home, so I want to help her anytime I can. So I'll usually get up with the kids, but like, my youngest is on a kick. He gets up at 5:15, and I try to put him back to bed for a while, and it just doesn't work. So he's usually hanging out with me in the morning. So going to the gym, because I don't have anything at home like you guys do. So it's a little bit harder for me to say, like, okay, I got to go to the gym, and then I leave my wife, stranded at home. Mine right now, are generally either similar to Joe's, maybe like 11, 12-ish, or once I'm kind of like a little bit closer to done, maybe 4 or 5-ish. So it's usually one or the other. I hate working out in the afternoons. I just don't have the energy anymore or anything like that. But so I usually, a lot of my days are split up too. Like I'm very similar to Joe. I get a lot of my mental thinking is very sharp in the morning. So I try to do as much of like my critical, like building things, creating things, stuff like that early. And then like the second half of my day is a little bit more managerial, my team meeting, stuff like that, any type of management type tasks, or a little bit later because I don't need to be as fresh for some of those. So a lot of times I'll try, like, it'll like when I break from like, like making things, working on the business to like more management, I'll usually will make that my time to split when I do my workout.
Cool. So, as we kind of go through the different people's each guy's routines, you got to think about your goals when you're doing these things. And so Joe's goals require 2 hours a day. And I'm not saying for most entrepreneurs that's going to be realistic. They might not have the goal of having that might not be the same. However, if you're at a certain point in your life, you might have that. Plus, finding goals that drive you to get your fitness in does make it a heck of a lot easier. Danny's is closer to an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on how much like walking and stuff he has to get in different aspects. Mine for weight loss is I try to do I at first I try to do what I call minimal effective dose. So like what's the least amount I can do to get the best results? That truly comes to having a super strict nutrition routine. I do follow a pretty strict nutrition routine, 2,200 calories at 265 pounds with a 250 grams of protein, like 120 carbs and 70 grams of fat, right? So I stick to that roughly every single day. But even at minimal effective dose, I was trying to get to like everything down to 30 minutes, wasn't enough movement. So I had to redesign my day and I've had to continue to get to that. So what I have done is I call it Mamba mentality, right? Kind of using Kobe's philosophy. What Kobe always did was Kobe wanted to get a workout in before anybody else got one in. So that way he'd get another workout in the afternoon and then get a third one in. Because most people at most would get two. Well, if he did an extra early one, he'd get a late one in too. So his ability was if I can do 3 a day over a long enough period of time, I'm at the end of the year, I'm going to have an extra 360 workouts than you have, right? So that's kind of thinking about that. Like I've been reading a lot of Kobe stuff recently and I'm listening to a biography about him right now. And that kind of got me re-triggered. Like I got to get this in more often. So what I did instead of being like, okay, what can I do before the day starts? So I do a 30-minute ruck in the morning, and a ruck is just walking with a 30-pound, backpack on, right? I just got like a weight vest, 30 pounds. I do a 30-minute ruck in the morning, and that's when I listen. During that time, I'm listening to like my podcast, the things that kind of motivate me, get my energy up, or I'm listening to gospel music at the same time if I need that kind of like power in the day. I'm doing that in my 30-minute ruck in the morning. That's super easy to get in, except for when the weather is bad. And comparable to specifically Danny, our weather is amazing. Compared to Joe's, we're about equal in weather-wise. But I do have mornings like it's been rainy this week, and I have been lazy and not gone out and done my walk. And it's amazing how my whole day switches if I did not get that first movement in for the day. From there, nutrition's pretty on point during the day. And then this is where I struggle is my lunch time. I try to do it like Joe and Danny do is I like to get my lift in around 11. But we've have so many sales calls going on right now, and I do all the sales calls. Those can kind of come in random times. So I've had to this week, I noticed by those coming in at random times, I've had to dial in my schedule and block off certain more times so that they can't schedule into those times. Because what was happening is I'd have a sales call and I'd skip my workout and do because I'd have a sales call, it'd run long, I'd skip my workout and not have enough time. And I feel, oh, well, in my mind, when I do a sales call, that's not work, even though it is work. But in my mind, it's like, oh, I have all this other stuff I got to get done. So I do a sales call and I'm like, oh, I'm not working during this time. Now I got to skip my workout because I did this. It's like, no, that's still work. But because I'm not actually physically productive in that way, it doesn't feel like, oh man, I didn't get all the things that I need to. So I've had to redesign. So this is just kind of like, I'm going through my day to kind of help you guys think about this stuff. I've had to then block off my schedule. Like nobody can book a meeting with me after 10 a.m. So that forces me to be done with my calls by 11. So now I can work out of 11 to 12 and nobody can book in with me again until 1:30. So for that gives me a real 2-hour window of time. So I can't be like, oh man, worst case scenario, I skip my lunch, but I can always eat faster or eat while I'm working. So that's no big deal there, but it gives me a 2-hour window because I would skip that. I was doing a great job at that afternoon workout, but I'd skip it. So for me, I do 5 lifts a week, try to do it Monday through Friday. I don't like to lift on the weekends, mainly because I have a lot of like I have a pretty big yard. I have 1.5 acres, and I'm always working out in those on the acreage area when I'm on the weekend. So I like feel like, hey man, I got these personal chores to get done. I work so much during the week. I gotta get those done. So I don't lift very often on the weekends. And then the evening one, me and my wife do a 30-minute ruck at the end of the night. We do that as kind of her chill down from the day, a chance for us to connect. Our dog gets to go out for a walk. So that one never gets missed. That's a super easy one. There's accountability of that. But because I sit behind a desk 100% of the day now, that takes me 3 movements like that to get my 10,000 steps in, right? And so that's a lot of, I have to dedicate a lot of time to get my step because I don't get those other steps in. So one thing I'm actually adding to my routine next week is I've changed all my calls from a virtual call, like a video call, to an actual phone call, because we work with plumbers and it actually works better for plumbers than trying to get on a virtual call. So we've moved to that. Now I can go in the backyard, and every time I'm on a 30-minute call, I'm just going to take the call in the backyard and do this. That's going to help improve my steps by another 5,000 steps, probably minimum, if not more. I only usually do 2 to 3 calls a day. So, but for me, I look at it on the perspective as I have a big weight loss goal, and I could push really, really hard to hit this goal like faster. We've all done it. I've specifically done it. I've had gained weight different times in my life. I've lost like 50 pounds in like 6 months. I know I can do that, but that isn't ever sustainable for me. So what I'm trying to do is build a lifestyle of habits that I can do forever. I know I can do my 30-minute walk in the morning forever. That's super easy to do. The lunch one is something I'm working on, but it's something I need to get good at because I do work a 10-hour day minimum. And so realistically, it doesn't hurt to take an hour and a half off in the middle of the day to kind of recharge and work on myself and build that component. And then in the evening, there's nothing better than a decompressed walk with my wife and the dog and doing that kind of stuff. That's actually great. It's great family time. There's value added in that. So those are easy things for me to do, and I can do those forever. And that's important when I'm building these routines. And then the other things I talked about before is to help me on the weekends to get that like mental stimulation of getting more movement in. I do a ton of yard work. Me and my wife go for a hike every Saturday morning. We do about an hour and a half hike together. And that's a true hike. We live in the mountains, so it's like a legit hike. We're doing that. Pretty exhausting usually, but it's fun. Like who wouldn't want to go for an hour and a half hike in the mountains every weekend? And then Sunday mornings, I play pickleball for 2 hours with friends. So what I'm trying to do in between that stuff to give me a little bit more fun on the weekends is trying to throw in 30 minutes of just shooting. I love to shoot. And when I say shooting, it's not just shooting. It's like going in and doing drills. Like, I think we're all kind of in that phase where we always have trained for something. And so it's like, it's fun to work my layups and speed up drills and that kind of stuff, as well as pickleball drills and working on stuff like that. So those have been ways to get me more engaged. But the thing I struggle with the most is the anxiety of taking time away from my business, because our business is in a very heavy growth phase right now. And so because of that, it's like, if I'm taking time away from this, then I'm sacrificing things for my business partners who need me to keep growing this business. So it's an issue that I have. I know that I have these other personal goals, and my business partners are so supportive of those goals, but that doesn't mean that's not in my head and in my heart all the time. I actually have to pray about it a lot, because I'm always like, I have to ask God for like, give me the strength to do this, because the strength for me is like, it's so much easier for me to sit there and keep working. It's hard. It's really, really hard for me to get up from my computer desk and go to my, it's so easy to say 15 steps to my gym, but it's so hard for me because this pull over here is so much easier. And the workout in my mind actually is easier, because it's like, I've been doing it my whole life. I've been lifting weights my whole life. This is like an hour where I can just like veg, in a sense, mentally jet veg, but it's hard to pull myself away from that. So that's my big struggle there, is pulling myself away from that. So that's kind of, but I start off with the idea of minimal effective dose. I've turned out that minimal effective dose for me is just the fact that I have to have it scheduled into my schedule. And like, I know these things, but like, I can't probably do less than that, because I do work. I sit so much. And so movement wise, I can't just neglect the 10,000 steps of movement. I could possibly add running in and reduce the amount of total steps, which running technically would add probably more steps, but reduce one of those things out and only do one a day. But for my body at 265, it doesn't make sense. That adds so much inflammation and it's unenjoyable. But the 3 walks a day help me continue to lose 2 pounds a week, which is where my goal is, along with my macros being on point.
Yeah, I think that's great, Trevor. And I know you're working really hard at it. And I think it sounds like a lot of us, it's like, probably the most helpful thing is like to schedule it out, to have it planned, instead of like, yeah, I'm going to get to it, and not have like an actual plan for when you're going to get in. What would you say, like, guys, I'll ask both of you guys, like, what's like the number 1 or 2 things to like make it easier for an entrepreneur? For me, like, I'll say 2 things: making it fun, which we've talked about a couple times, gamifying it, having a goal, doing something you enjoy doing that doesn't feel like exercise. So shooting baskets, or for me, like playing basketball, I love doing, is I get a good workout in, but I don't actually feel like I'm working out, right? So like ways you can gamify it. And then the other is like doubling up. So when I was talking, I didn't bring this up, but like for me, it's get my steps in along with my lifts. But I actually don't spend any more time getting steps in. So I have a walking pad. I'm literally on it right now. I've been on it for 59 minutes right now, but I've been working the whole time. So like, what are ways that entrepreneurs can kind of double up? The walking pad has been the best investment I've ever made. I get so many steps in because of it, and I'm doing it when I'm working. So anything I can do that doesn't require like very critical thinking or anything like that, I do it while I'm standing and walking. And if I'm on a meeting, I'm on a podcast, like whatever it is, if I can walk, I'm going to walk. Right. So I'm doubling up. I'm not actually taking more time out of my day. And that really helps me optimize my day, optimize my steps. And that works really well for me. So, and I mean, I got like one of those raised like small desks. It's not even a desk. It's just like a little table thing that you can buy with the treadmill. I mean, it was like $200 for both. Like that's not that much money to get all these steps in and everything there. So those are two things for me that like helps me make it easier. But what about you guys? Is there anything that you guys feel like you do or could do that just kind of helps make it as a busy entrepreneur, families, all of that, like to actually fit in your fitness?
Man, I think the walking pad is something that I've been interested in investing in for a long time because we have a treadmill in our garage and we bought a desk like top to go on it. And so when I'm at home, I'll often get on there for like meetings and podcasts and stuff like that, but not terribly often. But I do have a stand-up desk and a walking pad would work really well. I think you're always more sharp. Like if you can move while you're on one of these calls or something, it always makes my brain more sharp and I think more clearly because I can't sit here and get into like relax mode as much, but which I have a tendency to do. Um, I found that I've had the biggest thing for me is there's this interesting transition. So when I first opened my business, and every night I was working a full time job somewhere else, so I would have that job, and then I would go to my physical location of my business in the evening and coach some people up, and then I would come home and I'd be like working on the website, and it was we only had one kid at that point, and it was a real strain on like the relationship for my wife and I. So I had to find ways to turn it off when I got home. And I think that's where we all start talking about like dealing with anxiety of if we're doing enough work or if we're not doing enough work. But I had to consider that marriage and that whole relationship. Well, now my wife is fairly heavily involved in our business. She's a nutrition coach and she does admin stuff and all that. So she's slowly becoming like an entrepreneur. She doesn't quite think the same way as we do, but she's a part of it. So she also has a part-time job as a nurse, like all virtual from home. And she does lots of walking on the treadmill while she's working. But she's having to learn how to balance that of like turning off one job and then getting into another job. So it helps when you and your partner when you align on goals or have similar goals so that you both understand where the other one is coming from. So now I think as entrepreneurs, we all work a lot, but what's cool is we can choose when we work for the most part. So if I'm going to take my son to a hitting lesson for baseball at 3 p.m. today. So then I can go do that and I can pay attention so that I can help work with him when he's not there. And then I can go back home and I can get more stuff done for my business. I don't have to like stop working for the rest of the day. And my wife will be okay with it, depending on unless we got a bunch of other stuff going on. Cause I think at 6, we got to take my daughter to her softball game, but she'll be okay with it because she understands like there's things I've got to get done because now she's been in it and she understands that. And she understands the need to want to get these things done. So us being aligned on our goals and working towards something together, even though we're not like 100%, we're barely together when we're working. But working towards something together has been pretty big for helping me get more work done because I can go home and get stuff done kind of at odd hours whenever I need to. That's a big one. If somehow you can bring your spouse into it or help them understand the point of view, that helped us a lot because we used to argue a lot when it came to work and the amount of time I was devoting to it because like I enjoy my work. I get fulfillment from it. I love doing it. I mean, even just creating something very, very simple like a flyer for a promotion. If I'm actually doing that, it's like a creative outlet for me. So I kind of enjoy it. So just aligning on our goals. And I didn't even really think about this till just now. Like it's just something I've noticed. Like when we haven't physically said, I have this goal, you have that goal. We're both working towards it. It's just, she now has similar perspective to mine and she understands what it's like to like get fulfillment from your work. So I think some people call it like don't like if it's like me and my wife, don't grow without like bringing them along or trying to get them on your same level, taking them to events with you, teaching them things that you've learned, listening to them when they learn new things. I think that's made a big difference for us in balancing the family time and the work time for sure.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and wrap this up. We're getting close to 45 minutes, but for me, the two things are exactly kind of what Joe was talking about there is like doing things with my wife allows me to be more physically fit. Luckily, my wife enjoys fitness. Like we worked out together Tuesday night because it was raining and she was just excited to be in the gym with me working out. Like that was enjoyable. I'm very blessed to have a wife that loves it that much. But we do make pretty much every movement I do with her makes it, I guarantee I get it in, right? So our nightly walks, I don't miss those because I sometimes would. I'd probably keep working until like 6, but she comes home and she's like, hey, let's go for a walk. Cool. Like I'm not going to skip that time.
Done.
And then going hiking on Saturday mornings, like a lot of times I'd love to get up and work for a few hours, but we're straight into a hike because that's like our time together. And so we've kind of built our relationship time together doing fitness or exercise. So that's been a huge benefit to me that she's into that. And in my relationships in my past, before I met my wife, it wasn't always that way. So it's really enjoyable to have somebody that does enjoy fitness. So that's kind of like that stacking idea Daniel was talking about. And then the other thing for me is this doesn't make it easy, but it's just the idea that I every week keep reassessing why those things didn't happen. And I'm really good at reassessing why I didn't get my workouts in or I didn't eat as good as I could. And I do a really good job of setting up the next week. I look at my calendar, how do I move things around? Because I am trying to build this lifelong, like, how do I do this forever? And so it's like making these micro adjustments to how my schedule changes so that I don't miss it. And I think that's huge for me. I think entrepreneurs, a lot of times I didn't get it in like next week, just hope and pray it happens. And I've always been really good about, I never leave things up to chance. The next week, I might fail this week and that happens. But next week, I will make the slight adjustments I need to make it so like, hey, there's no excuses not to have this happen. And it also works in a longer term plan. That's why my results maybe aren't as fast, but they're very, very consistent because I keep making these slight adjustments and making sure that I'm not going to miss in this plan. And next week, we can get better and better. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and wrap up for the call. I appreciate the time you guys spent. Our goal on this call was to talk about fitness in the sense that we all have different goals. We all have different aspirations. Entrepreneurship makes it harder on the physical side. That doesn't mean you can't do it. We are all running high functioning businesses. We have a lot of roles that we're responsible for, but we still get them in. So if you ever need help with this kind of stuff, if you want to be around a bunch of people that are into their fitness, but also working on their business, check out the Brotherhood Beyond Business. Have a great day, guys. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay locked in. Brotherhood is more than business. It's about leading from the front, leveling up in every domain, and becoming the CEO of your own life. Step up, execute, and we'll see you in the next one.